Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I'm Vered Kogan, and I am deeply, deeply honored to introduce our special guest today, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. With nearly 40 years of hands-on experience working with over 200 major CEOs and their management teams, Marshall is the leading expert on leadership and coaching for behavioral change. In fact, he's been ranked as the world's #1 executive coach, and he is a member of the Thinkers50 Hall of Fame, being the only two-time Thinkers50 #1 leadership thinker in the world. He received his PhD from the UCLA Anderson School of Management and has been a volunteer teacher supporting leaders of the U.S. Army, Girl Scout executives, and leaders of the International and the American Red Cross, where he was the National Volunteer of the Year. Marshall has earned a great deal of recognition, much more than I could possibly share in this short podcast, for his meaningful work, such as being chosen as the inaugural winner of the Lifetime Award for Leadership by the Harvard Institute of Coaching. He is a New York Times #1 bestselling author, having written, edited 51 books, including What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Mojo, Triggers, and his latest excellent book, The Earned Life, which is all about how to create your own life, not somebody else's, going all in on what matters to you to increase your fulfillment and minimize regret. And really, it is such an honor to have you here, Marshall. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm grateful to our mutual friend, Eddie Turner, for introducing us, one of your wonderful 100 coaches. And I have followed your work for many years, Marshall, and many of my clients have followed your work for many years. And so it truly is an honor to have you here to share with us something that I believe is really in the hearts and minds of many leaders. Which is how to not only create achievement, which many of them have successfully done over and over, but also truly live what you call an earned life, a life of fulfillment.
Right.
And so would you be willing to share with us your definition of what the earned life means?
Well, we're living an earned life when our activities, our mission, our purpose are connected with a higher sense of aspiration, regardless of the outcomes. So, and the interesting part of that definition is regardless of the outcomes, because in the book, I talk about the importance of living a great life and not being addicted to the outcomes of that life.
Yeah. And it's such a profound, meaningful concept here, because that addiction to outcomes, it's so natural for people who are high achievers. It's always, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And we have fulfillment for a short time and then immediately consider what's next. It's almost, as you said, it's an addiction. And I know you mentioned in your own life that you had kind of a soul searching kind of moment back in 1979, where you yourself needed to make some decisions which set the ground for your earned life. Would you be willing to share with us a little bit about your experience there?
Well, over the years, I've had to make a lot of decisions. And I'm trying to think about which one you're talking about now. But if you look back on it over the years, I had to decide, for example, to leave being a college professor. And I had security, and I had a nice job, and I met a man named Dr. Paul Hersey, and he was a wonderful person, gave me great opportunity to develop situational leadership with Hersey and Blanchard. So I just kind of followed him around and carried the bags, and he gave me an opportunity to do what he did. And one day he got double booked. He said, "Can you do what I do?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll pay you $1,000 for a day," and I was making $15,000 a year. And so I said, "I'll try." And I ended up, doing a very successful job with the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, and that led to my career.
So a wonderful demonstration of, working hard, of course, as I'm sure you did, being presented with an opportunity and choosing to go for it, even though it sounds like you didn't quite know what to do, and you trusted that and you went for it. What the incident that I was referring to, not the incident, but the soul searching moment that I'm referring to, is one where you realize that you had achievement, meaning, happiness, engagement, purpose, but it was relationships. It was relationships that you were really focused on, meaning, if I continue this path, if I leave, this organization and I do my own trainings, I will need to be on a plane a lot. I will need to make certain sacrifices, certain trade-offs. And so tell us about that, because I think that it's the relationship aspect of things that many leaders are struggling with, right? Like, giving their best to their families while also fulfilling their life's mission.
It's a very interesting case study, because I had to make a decision, because I've flown constantly, of how am I going to do this? And I don't know if balance is the right word, but how am I going to align my family with this job? And I did something I think that we don't do enough. I asked my kids, what can I do to be a better father? And, you ask your kids, what can I do to be a better father? They answer you. My daughter said, well, you travel a lot, but that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is the way you act when you come home. Talk on the phone, you watch sports, and you don't spend much time with me. And she said, one time it was Saturday, I wanted to go to a party at my friend's house, and Mommy didn't let me go. I had to stay home and spend time with you, but then you spent no time with me. That wasn't right. So what can I say? Thank you. So this is a great thing for people to learn. I started keeping track of how many days I could spend 4 hours with my family. 1991, 92 days. 1992, 110. 1993, 131. And 1994, 135. I made more money the year I spent 135 days, 4 hours with my family, than the year I spent 20 days. Now, what I learned, the San Diego Chargers football team don't care about me. Years later, I learned San Diego Chargers football team don't care about San Diego, because now there's a Los Angeles Chargers football team. So, and then it was a great experience, because then it was January 1, 1995. They're both teenagers. Said, kids, look, 135 days. What about this year? 150. They go, no, too much. And what I learned is, people say, I don't have time for my family because I'm busy, I'm traveling, all that stuff. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I traveled constantly, and I spent more time with my family than 95% of all the fathers did. And, I listened to a woman give a talk once she was the CEO of a company called Palm Pilot. She gave a talk to a women's group, and she said, basically, look, I want to be a good CEO. So I worked very hard at being a CEO, and I want to stay in good health, and I take care of my family. She said, that's about it, though. Mm-hmm. There's only so many hours in a day, and you can't do everything well. And I try to do these 3 things very well. So I do think you can have very positive family relationships and be successful. Michelle Seitz is a woman in our group. Michelle is CEO of Russell Investments, a $5 trillion fund, huge, and 5 kids. I just met her son. They're really nice kids. He worked very hard about being a good mother, and got 5 kids, and she's the CEO for years of a $5 trillion investment fund. So, and her attitude is the same. You can do this. You can do this. It just, you have to make it a priority, though.
Yeah.
And you can't do everything, by the way. You just can't do everything, but you can be a very effective CEO and have a nice family at the same time.
Thank you, Marshall. I think these are important words for many listeners. And I started with that because personally, when I read your book, The Earned Life, and reading about these kind of existential regrets, the first one that I thought of is one of like a potential existential regret of, if I were to continue pursuing my life's mission, that which is most deeply important to me from a career contribution perspective, that I may regret not having enough time with my husband or with my daughters. Although if you ask my daughters, they'll say, oh, you were a great mom, right? Because now they're older, they're kind of beyond the teenage years that you mentioned. But it's kind of a fear, of what if, there may be that regret. And, and for other people, it might be different. It might be, maybe I'll regret not investing enough in my health, not, doing certain fun things. So what do you say to those individuals that are like, okay, I hear you, I want to increase my fulfillment, minimize regret, But what about the needs of others?
Well, the first thing I would say is never start sentences with "but." I wrote a book about this.
Good point. And
to say "but," you're just trying to prove the other person is wrong. You're not really interested in the answer. So, assuming then you got over that "but" thing, what I'd say is that first, look backward, and I'll do an exercise for everyone listening. Okay, everybody listening, take a deep breath. Good Buddhist philosophy is every time I take a deep breath, it's a new me. It's a new me. Whatever happened before the second time was done by an infinite set of people called the previous me's. So I want everyone listening, close your eyes. Think of all the previous yous. Think of all the gifts they've given the you that is listening to me right now. Think about how hard they tried, the nice things they did. Open your eyes. If any group of people did that many nice things, what should you say to these good people? Thank you. Thank you. Just do like this. Thank you. Thank you. Now, did they make a mistake or two? Who's the first person we need to forgive? Forgive this person. So whatever you did in the past, you did. All right. You can sit there and beat yourself over the head for it, but it's not going to change. Whatever you did, you did. So forgive yourself. And, one of the guys I coach, I always trouble with him. He wasn't really as happy as I thought he could be. Mega successful, but not really ever that happy. And he has a couple of kids. He loves his little kids. So I finally got through to him because I've known him for years. And I said, "Do you want your kids to be happy?" He said, "More than anything." I said, "Do you believe in leadership by example?" He said, "Yes." So I said, "You go first." You go first. Well, you want your kids to beat themselves up? Don't beat yourself up. You go first. And so, you want your kids to be happy? You be happy. So, if you want your kids to feel guilty, I guess you feel guilty or miserable, but is that what you want for your kids? So, I think very important to think about this in life, that what message am I sending here? And then the other thing is forgive yourself for being a human being. Forgive yourself for being a human and forgive others for not being who you thought they might have been. Easy theory. A lot of us don't do this. And the other thing is, people in the West, we have been programmed to believe everything is out there, not in here. I mean, the great Western art form sounds like this. There is a person. The person is sad. They spend money, they buy a product, they become happy. This is called a commercial. Now, how many of these have you heard in your life? Thousands and thousands, over and over, the same message. It's out there, it's out there, it's out there. Reality is it's not out there. It's in here. You buy the new car. How long does that bring you any happiness or peace? A day, a month? Not much. Not much. What do you got to get? Another new car? It just never stops. So very important not to look for the answers out there because they're not out there. The other thing about, there's many schools of Buddhism, and again, I'm not a religious, but a philosophical Buddhist. And my school of Buddhism was pretty simple. Buddha was brought up very rich, and his father was a king, at least the metaphorical Buddha. And his father believed he would be happy if he had more. So he lived in a bubble, protected from life. He was able to sneak outside 3 times. First time, what he learned, people get old. Second time, get sick. Third time, die. Old, sick, die. Not good. All that money, status, more, doesn't change a thing. Old, sick, die. Then he thought, I'll never be happy with more. He tried to be happy with less. Starved himself, lived in the woods. Didn't work. What he learned, can't be happy with less. Finally realized something. Only one time you can never be happy. Now. Only one place you can ever be happy. Here. This is it. Where is nirvana? This is some old guy talking about Buddhist philosophy. This is it. It's not a place. This Zoom call is it.
And for everyone listening to this Zoom call right now, saying, all right now, I am achieving a certain level of success that, others would consider to be very successful, whether it's as I am as a parent, in my company, in my career, and I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm not feeling fulfilled, and I'm wondering, what is next for me? What's next? How can I figure out what that is so that I could, live that life, that earned life of fulfillment, having forgiven the past versions of myself, thinking right now in this moment, what is that choice for me? What would you suggest for them?
The first question is, what is meaningful to you? Now, I cannot answer what's meaningful for another person. That has to come from their heart. Some people being a college president is very meaningful, others very meaningless. Well, it's not that the job is good or bad in and of itself, it's what does it mean to you? Another good way to look at it is, who are your heroes? Think of the people in your life you would define as your heroes, and then why are they your heroes? I mean, this exercise changed my life. I went to a program. A woman said, who are your heroes? They were very kind and generous people who were great teachers. She said, you should be more like them. That's what led to my 100 coach program. Well, my whole life changed based on this one conversation. So who are your heroes? And why are they your heroes? These were very kind and generous people, are great teachers, and they never charged me money. She said, you should be like these people. So that's what led me to adopt people, give away everything. And because I want to be like them. Well, I think it's very good for everyone listening to ask yourself this question: who are my heroes? And why are these people my heroes? And what do I want to do to emulate them in my own life? My heroes were people like Paul Hersey and Warren Bennis and Peter Drucker and Frances Hesselbein, Elton. Nice, generous people that are kind to me. They didn't charge me money. So I want to just be one of them. And so I've worked very hard to be one of them.
Well, on a personal note, since I get to have this live conversation with you, I want to let you know that you are one of my heroes.
Well, thank you so much.
And there's a great deal of meaning and examples of that. And I honor that this conversation is not about me. It is about me and everybody else who is listening, and about you. And so in addition to these questions, what can people do to access what's meaningful to them? What if somebody's saying, I get that, but I've been searching for that. I don't quite know what that is.
Well, the first thing is be open-minded. One thing I teach people going through this transition is be open-minded. One of the common things people say is, I would like to do X. I say, maybe. Back away and think. I wouldn't like to run a nonprofit. Well, maybe you wouldn't like to run some nonprofits, but maybe one nonprofit you would love running. So just be open-minded. The second thing I teach people is offers are good. You don't ever have to accept an offer, but you cannot reject an offer you don't have. So go for offers that may be interesting. You can negotiate the contract and the deal later, and then go for something that sounds like it might be good, learn about it, and try to get an offer. The other thing that's very hard for successful people when they go through this transition is for them to realize now they are salespeople. Mm-hmm. And the higher up you go, in many ways, the harder it is to get another great job. Why? Because the previous work was very interesting. So you don't want to do trivia. I mean, they can get a job or do something, but that doesn't matter. They want to get a great job. Well, it's hard because there aren't that many great things to do. So you're in sales. And Peter Drucker said, look, we're here on earth to make a positive difference, not to prove we're right. And the decision maker is the customer. Decisions are made based on who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. They don't have to buy, you have to sell. So to teach people, no matter how distinguished they are, when you go through this career transition, you're in sales. You're in sales, and you're the product. And you go out there and try to find interesting offers, and then say, well, if I did this, how would it feel? But get real offers, because if you don't, just get lost in theory.
That is super cool, because most people would think that it's the reverse. I first need to really hone in on what it is that I want, and then I start to explore that, and seek offers and so on.
And they don't necessarily limit themselves. Because I think, gee, I wouldn't like to run a nonprofit, but then they realize I would love to run that nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so just being open-minded. being open-minded to life and alternatives and stuff. And also don't get lost in should. I must do this, I should do that, right? One of the women in my group is Margot Georgiadis. Margot was the head of marketing at Google. She was the CEO of Mattel, and then she became CEO of Ancestry. Stock went from 1.25 billion to 4.75 billion when they sold it. And now she's dealing with what next? Well, she thought about it and she got this advice of, well, just wait, no hurry. I said, no, that's bad advice. What if the great thing comes along next week? We're supposed to say no? Why should you wait? And now she's running a small entrepreneurial startup company. She's really excited. It's in healthcare. She loves the work. She loves the people. And I give her an A+ on living a great life. Well, why? She didn't get locked into the you should do this stuff. Why should she do anything? You don't have to. What should have to do anything, right? Yeah, you don't have to do it. What should have to do anything? She's aware of that, right? You don't do anything. Well, she's not doing it because she has to do it or she should do it. She's doing it because she wants to do it and she loves it. I'll give you some other great case study. Harry Kramer was the CEO of Baxter. And Harry left Baxter, and he's one of the happiest guys I've ever met. He has a portfolio career, too. That's another option. Margot has one job. Harry has a portfolio of jobs. Harry is a professor at Northwestern, where he was teacher of the year, which I never forgave him for because there were 5 candidates, and one of them was named Dr. Kelly Goldsmith, my daughter, who he defeated. I've never forgiven him for that one. But anyway, she's now a full professor at Vanderbilt, where she was the professor of the year. So anyway, that was good. So anyway, but Harry teaches at Northwestern. He loves it. He raises money for charity all the time, which he loves. He does some work in private equity and just coaches some people sometimes. He's got a very, very happy, what I call portfolio life. So also be open to a portfolio life. Alan Mulally, my great friend, one of the best CEOs in history. And right now he's got the same thing. He coaches people, he gives talks, he's writing, just a variety of different activities. Also very, very, very happy, very fulfilled. Hubert Joly was CEO of Best Buy, same thing. He left Best Buy, he's now a professor at Harvard Business School. He's very happy. He does coaching. He's doing all kinds of needs, and he's a very, very happy person. So and finding meaning every day. So there are a lot of these positive case studies. I think the negative ones, they're just trying to prove something, I think. Make more money, more status, more something. Why? Hubert said, why am I trying to get more money or status or anything? I should just, mostly, they've got enough money that they should do whatever they want to do. And by the way, if you want to make more money, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Some people just love making money and they put the money to good use. It's perfectly okay. Go for it. Nothing wrong with that. So it just depends on the person.
I'm so grateful for these, case studies for these individuals that you mentioned of what works and what doesn't, because I think a lot of people have made certain decisions in their career. Maybe they followed some shoulds, right? Things they were good at and kind of followed that. But wherever they got to a place that one of your clients, I think it was Aaron, the civil engineer, the African immigrant that you wrote about, kind of reached a baseline satisfaction, right? Can't complain. Things are good. Right? Bless you.
Thank you.
Things are good, but they're not like amazing. Yes. Right. And so for those people listening that are at that place, yes, where there is that baseline satisfaction. I had one of my clients describe it as a golden cage, right? It's like things are good, but you're still in a cage, but it's really good. It's really hard to leave. There are certain attachments, that keep you where you are. What advice do you have for them?
Well, and there are a lot of attachments, but I think it's very healthy to realize that. Now, I wrote a book called Succession, Are You Ready? Which is a good book about this topic. That book, it doesn't mean are you ready to be the CEO? It means are you ready to let go? So that book really addresses this question. Succession, Are You Ready? Is published by Harvard Business Review. Anyway, I talk about my things with CEO, and it's hard to let go. One, everyone sucks up. Now, we all say we hate suck-ups, right? Oh, I hate suck-ups. I hate suck-ups, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, everyone says they hate suck-ups. So I do a little class exercise. I said, how many people want suck-ups? No, nobody. They say, how many of you own a dog you love? Oh, what's your dog's name? No. No. Do you love your dog? Oh, yeah. They say, who gets the most unqualified positive recognition at home? Your kids, your spouse, or your dog? Why is it the dog? The dog doesn't talk back. Dog's happy to see me. I come home late, it's still happy. Come home late and drunk, the dog's still happy. Well, the dog is a suck up. We miss that stuff. Mike Cook was the CEO of Walmart, and he retired. He said he had this joke he told. He says, clean joke too. Walmart, very sensitive, don't want to offend people, very clean joke. And people loved his joke. He always tell his joke, and then he retired. So he tells his joke. He said, nobody left. Then he he's out there grumpy, goes to another group, tells a joke. Well, he left. Finally, his wife says, Mike, you idiot. You idiot. Did you actually think that stupid joke was funny?
Oh.
When he was CEO of Walmart, the joke was hilarious. Oh, he's not CEO of Walmart. Nobody's laughing now.
My goodness, that's a little sad.
It's the real world. Yeah. I mean, look, one of my people in the group, he was a managing partner in one of the most prestigious banks in the world, right? So he decides to leave and become the CEO of the Nature Conservancy. And so, he left, but he had 2 months between his departure and starting a new job, right? He said the first week, everybody, oh, we miss you. We love you. Don't leave. After 1 week, when everything was sorted out, you know what he said? No one saw me when I walked down the hall. No one saw me when I walked down the hall. No one was mean or rude. He didn't exist.
Wow.
Why'd they go into the business in the first place? To make money for themselves. You get out of the money train, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other thing I can tell you, most of your clients don't work for big companies. But if you work for big companies, one thing I always teach people, never worship the corporate God. Never worship the corporate God. That is an unqualified mistake. I've seen so many people with 35 years experience. They get canned. Here's the security guard with the box, and they walk out the door. It's awful.
Yeah.
So never put your soul there. Never put your soul there.
Yeah, I started working about 6 months ago with a couple of individuals that were CEOs at a very, very large company. And the board essentially kicked them out. The chairman of the board one day said, that's it, you're out. Yep. Exactly, bye-bye. And, they wanted to figure out the what's next. Right now, they've since landed. And it was such a process, right, to release that, right? There was, there were also a lot of feelings, that came up with that, right? Like feelings of shame, abandonment, like all these things, because here they are, right? There's so much of our identity that's associated into our roles because we give so much, we care so much, that being essentially booted out is destructive. It's also, right, when it's public, it's even worse.
Very good learning point. Never become attached to results. Sometimes you don't win.
Yeah.
Your value is those results. You lose, you have no value. The reality is, just like your people that got fired, I mean, maybe the environment changed, the economy changed. One guy I know got fired because of supply chain problems, COVID. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, right? You just don't have total control over that. And so you show up, you do your best, you achieve to achieve, be happy to be happy. But don't think achievement is ever going to make you happy.
So if somebody's listening to this now, Marshall, and saying, okay, I'm getting this. So if I want to choose a life of fulfillment, and fulfillment is not related to outcomes or results, right? The lasting kind of fulfillment, then how do I know what is going to be fulfilling for me?
Well, what happens is, I didn't say you don't try to achieve results, but the point is never believe the achievement of a result is going to make you happy. It won't.
That's right. So what do we do instead?
You want to achieve results that are meaningful to you. Or let me rephrase that. You want to try to achieve results that are meaningful for you. The most widely read poem in history is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a very interesting story. It's about a guy who's got two choices, bad and worse. And the advice he gets is, it is what it is. Show up, do your best, make peace. Second. You show up, you do your best, you make peace.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all you can do in life. Harry Kramer, one of the guys I talked about, he teaches about this. And somebody asked him, they said, Harry, you've had to lay people off, you've had to fire people, you've had to do tough things as a CEO. How do you sleep at night? And he said, I can sleep at night, no problems. Mm. But how do you sleep when you've had to make these decisions? He said, I only have to answer two questions. One, did I do what I thought was right? And two, did I do my best? If the answer is yes and yes, I can sleep at night. Yeah. Well, your friend that got fired, did he do what he thought was right? And did he do his best?
Absolutely.
Yes and yes, make peace. That's all you can ever do anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the outcome, sometimes you don't.
And I so honor you for teaching this, for offering so many resources for people to do this. I mean, I have your app, the spreadsheet, guided clients to ask themselves these daily questions in the morning, in the evening, right? To have the accountability, right? Did I do my best, right? And
let me give one for the people you're talking about. Just one question.
Please.
And ask yourself this question every day. Did I do my best to be happy? Now, did I do my best to be happy? In my book, Triggers, I interviewed 3 medical doctors who were CEOs. Jim Kim has a simultaneous medical degree and PhD with honors from Harvard in anthropology in 5 years. Put it in context, a normal human gets a PhD in anthropology from Harvard in 8 years. We get one in 5 years, got a medical degree at the same time. He becomes president of Dartmouth and head of the World Bank. Dr. Raj Shah, he is the head of the U.S. Agency for International Development. At age 37, he reported to Hillary Clinton. And now he's head of the Rockefeller Foundation. And Dr. John Noseworthy is head of Mayo Clinic. So these are, smart guys, all medical doctors. So ask him this question. On the average day, 1 to 10 scale, 10 is high, 1 is low, how would you give yourself the score? Did I do my best to be happy? What score would you make? They all had the same answer. It never dawned on me to try to be happy. It never dawned on me to try to be happy. Why? Too busy achieving things. Wow. Now, they're all medical doctors. So I said, what do you think this, how about medical school? Do they cover death there? They bring up that topic behind. I said, oh yeah, they brought that one up. I said, you think this is a silly question? I said, no, it's a very important question. I forgot to ask. Well, the average person that I work with who's a hyperachiever, made all A's in school, gets a 5.5 out of 10 on did I do my best to be happy on the average day. So when they give me that score, I say, well, remember when you were in school, you got a 5.5 out of 10, would you be proud of that grade? I said, no. That test is 1,000 times more important than the test you took in school. So I have a suggestion for everyone listening, raise the score. And by the way, it doesn't even say you were happy. It says, didn't even try to be happy. When you wake up in the morning, you tell yourself, I am going to try to be happy. I'm going to make the best of this thing. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to make the best of it.
That's right.
You can die anyway. So Curtis said, you can get old, you're going to get sick, you're going to die anyway. Might as well enjoy the process of life.
That's right. And you are modeling that for us, Marshall. And you have been so incredibly generous, of course, in our conversation and the so many other trainings, conversations, resources that you share with people from your heart, free of charge. It is so clear to me that you live that Buddhist philosophy, right? Life is good. Be happy now. Let it go, right? Living that earned life. And my wish, yes.
Let me give people my best coaching advice. All right, now they're going to get the best advice you're ever going to get. Everybody ready? Take a deep breath. Take a deeper breath. I want you to imagine you're 95 years old and you're just getting ready to die. Right before you take the last breath, you're given a beautiful gift. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person who's listening to me right now. What advice would the wise 95-year-old you who knows what mattered in life and what didn't, and what was important and what was not important, have for the you that is listening to me right now? Whatever you're thinking now, Do that. In terms of a performance appraisal, that is the only one that will ever matter. If that old person says you did the right thing, you did. Versus you made a mistake, you did. You don't have to impress anybody else. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who are dying to get to ask this question: what advice would you have? On a personal side, 3 themes. Theme number 1, 3 words, which we've discussed. Be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. That great Western disease. I will be happy when, followed by some achievement, money, status, BMW, condominium, degree, something or other. I will be happy when. We all have the same when. That old person is when. Learning point from old people, I got so busy chasing what I did not have. I didn't appreciate what I did have, and I had everything. Many of the people listening to this call, they have friends, family, health, enough money, they do interesting stuff. Don't get so busy chasing what you do not have, you can't appreciate it. Number 2, as we've discussed, friends and family. Never become so busy climbing that ladder of success you forget the people who love you. Invariably a big mistake. And then number 3, if you have a dream, go for it. Because you don't go for it when you're 30, you may not when you're 50 or 80. So just go for it. Business advice is much different. Number 1, life is short, have fun. Look, the people you're talking about, do what you like doing. If you don't like it, go do something else. Life is short, have fun. 2, do whatever you can do to help people. The main reason to help people has nothing to do with money or status or getting ahead. The main reason to help people is much deeper. The 95-year-old you will be proud of you because you did. The 95-year-old you will be disappointed if you don't. You don't think that's true? Interview any CEO who has retired. I've interviewed very many, and ask them a question. What are you proud of? No one told me how big their office was. They only talk about the people who've helped. And a fine advice also said, go for it. The world is changing. Go for it. Get some dream, go for it. I mean, you might fail, but at least you tried. Old people, we seldom regret the risk we take and fail. We usually regret the risk we failed to take. And finally, thank you so much for inviting me today. What's my mission in life? My mission in life is very, very simple. As I've grown older, my mission has gotten simpler and simpler and simpler. Was that just help people have a little better life? Now let's assume a few people listening to our nice talk have a little better life because of this talk. This talk is a very good use of my time.
All my love for you, Marshall, and my appreciation. And how can people learn more about how to access these wonderful resources, your incredible books?
Yeah, well, my books, just go to Amazon.com. The ones I'd recommend the most, based on our conversation, I'd say are What Got You Here, Won't You There? My new book, The Earned Life, Triggers, Mojo, and then finally the one I did with Sally Helgeson called How Women Rise. I love that book. And then also, if you're interested in this Succession, the Harvard book, Succession, Are You Ready? So those are ones I would kind of recommend. They're eminently available, so it's not hard to find. Just go to Amazon.com or someplace you can get them. And then my website, www.marshallgoldsmith.com, I give everything away. For if you have any coaches listening, I just did 40 videos for coaches. And they're all going to be available for free through coaching.com. And it's a whole course for 40 people. And here's what I'm doing. They did this thing called the WBEX, I forget the name of it. Big conference, right? And they said this is available. And they had these 40, 50 videos available. And they kept track of how many people watched them and everything. 400 and something people went through the entire course, all 40. So now what I'm doing is anybody that watches them all, I'm just doing special programs for free. Just to say, well, you made this level of sacrifice. The least I can do is, if you have any questions or whatever, just be happy to talk to you. So if you're a coach, that's something that's coming up. You can get those through coaching.com. And then just go to my website or YouTube, put my name in YouTube. There's hundreds of videos. And by the way, all my material, you may copy, share, download, duplicate, use in church, charity, whatever, any way you want. I have what I call the reverse franchise model. The franchise model is you have to do exactly what I say. And if you don't, I sue you. Well, my model is listen to what I say. As Buddha said, only do what works for you. Change it, modify it, put your name on it. I don't really care. And then the other thing is, if you don't pay me, I'll sue you. Well, I give it all away. So I have the world's best intellectual property system. You can't steal anything I do because you can't steal what people give you. Now, I forgot to mention my exciting new project, though. It's coming. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's coming up now. I'm so excited by this. My new project is called MarshallBot. MarshallBot, B-O-T, MarshallBot. A wonderful AI company called Fractal Analytics. They're coughing up some serious checks. I have 8 engineers working on this project. I'm going to have my own video bot. I'm going to teach you everything I know. It's going to look like me, sound like me, and just be able to respond to questions. And I'm going to give everything away through MarshallBot. So, and I'm not going to be here forever. So when this Marshall is no longer around, friendly MarshallBot will be there. Martin Lindstrom is working on the world's largest metaverse project. So here's my sequence. First, we'll be MarshallBot the text. Second, we're going to have MarshallBot audio, MarshallBot video, which looks and sounds like me, but then MarshallBot avatar. So I'm going to have my own little avatar with a green shirt wandering around.
I love it. I love it. Wow. A little hologram of Marshall walking around. I love it.
What I'm wondering about. And also, if anybody's ever in Nashville, Tennessee, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I take a walk every day. And I always invite anyone to listen to me. Stop by, take a walk. I take a walk anyway. So I'm happy to have people come.
That is awesome. And I love it.
Walk though. Well, there's one caution on the walk. I've had this happen twice. If you do take a walk with me, don't say, "Oh, that's Taylor Swift's little gate there. Let's look over the top." Don't do that. So you can go for a walk with me, but don't bother the neighbors.
Well, personally, I will take you up on that the next time that I'm in Nashville, if you're open to it. And I love the MarshallBot idea because there is so much wisdom and so much love in your heart, and that love will always be there. I'm so grateful that you are giving more resources so people can do even better and live an even more fulfilled, more earned life. Thank you.
Thank you.